All right, let's do it. Full World Juniors debrief. The 2026 tournament is in the books, and we got a result that felt overdue for one country. Sweden finally grabs gold.
Finally. And not just finally like, oh, they won one. It's the kind of win that changes the way people talk about your program for a while.
Right.
Sweden beats Czechia 4-2 in the final in St. Paul, Minnesota, and it's their first World Juniors gold since 2012.
And the whole tournament was in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, which honestly was a cool setting. 2 buildings, packed crowds, classic late December chaos, and then we end up with an all-European final.
Yeah, which is rare in the modern World Juniors era because Canada and the U.S. are usually right there late. But this year, the bracket broke in a way that punished mistakes and rewarded teams that could manage momentum swing.
Let's set the table for people who didn't watch every game. 10 teams, 2 groups. Top 4 from each group go to the quarters. Last place teams play a relegation game. The stakes are always sneaky huge because it's not just medals, it's who stays in the top division next year.
And relegation mattered immediately. Denmark ends up in that relegation game, loses 8-4 to Germany, and Denmark gets dropped down to Division 1 Group A for next year's cycle. Germany survives again, and Norway takes Denmark's spot in the top division next year.
That's the kind of storyline casual fans miss, but hardcore fans love, because one bad tournament can set your program back, and one promotion can be a massive moment for a country like Norway.
Okay, now the big story, Sweden. People always joke that Sweden wins the group, looks amazing, then gets weird in the medal round. This time, no joke, they finished the job.
They were steady, they didn't panic, and they looked like a team built for tight games. And in the final against Czechia, the game felt like Sweden controlling the majority of the minutes, and then late it turns into, uh-oh, is this happening again?
Right, because Czechia makes it dramatic late, but Sweden answers with the empty netter to close it out. The final score looks clean, 4-2, but it had that late heart rate spike.
And Czechia's tournament is fascinating because they lose to Canada in the group stage, then they see Canada again in the semifinal and flip the script.
That semifinal was wild. Czechia beats Canada 6-4, and if you're Canada, that's the one you'll replay. Because it wasn't just a one-goal toss-up, it was Canada trying to chase the game.
And that set up the gold medal game as Sweden versus Czechia, while Canada ends up in the bronze game.
Which Canada wins 6-3 over Finland, and that's a classic anger game. When a powerhouse gets bumped short of the final, sometimes they either deflate or they come out with fire. Canada came out with fire.
And Finland, what a weird tournament for them because they do something huge in the quarters. They knock out the USA in overtime 4-3.
That might be the biggest single shock to casual fans, because the U.S. had been the defending champ from the last 2 tournaments. You could feel the expectation. Okay, USA is going to be there again, and Finland says, nope, overtime, and they're gone.
So if you're mapping the bracket storylines, you basically have Sweden staying composed, Czechia rising again at the right time, Finland playing spoiler, especially against the U.S., and Canada stuck in that we're close but not there space again.
Now, I want to talk about Sweden's path through the middle round because this is where they proved it. Sweden beats Finland 4-3 in a shootout in the semifinal. That's not a we ran away with it win. That's a nerve win.
Exactly. Winning a shootout in a semifinal is basically the ultimate stress test. You're one bad bounce from bronze, one moment from the final, and Sweden passes.
And then they go into the final and score early, build the game, and when Czechia pushes late, Sweden doesn't melt. That's the big difference from Sweden teams of the past decade at this tournament.
Now let's give Czechia their flowers too, because they've become a legit medal round monster. Beating Canada again in a semifinal? That's not hot goalie and vibes. That's identity. They play with structure, and they don't look intimidated.
And here's the thing. Even though Czechia loses the final, the tournament MVP is Czechia's Wojtek Cihar. That tells you how dominant his overall tournament was. Not just one big night, but the full run.
And the war talk matters at World Juniors because it's a snapshot of who owned the event. And on the goaltending side, Love Herenstam gets to best goalie nod per the IIHF Directorate Awards, which lines up with Sweden's stability.
And then Adam Juric-Jecic is named best defenseman. So even in a tournament Sweden wins, Czechia still ends up with major recognition, which tells you how tight the top of the tournament really was.
Okay, let's do moments that define a tournament, rapid fire. 1. USA going out in the quarters to Finland in overtime. That's the bracket swing. If USA gets through, the whole tournament could look different.
2. Czechia beating Canada in the semifinal. That's the emotional turning point, because you could feel the tournament shift away from the usual North American final expectation.
3. Sweden winning the shootout semifinal over Finland, because that's the moment Sweden proved, no, we're not doing the old story.
And 4. Relegation. Germany beats Denmark 8-4, Denmark goes down, Norway comes up. That's the "this tournament has consequences" reminder.
Now, the listener asked specifically, where is it next year and what do the divisions look like?
Next year's World Juniors, the top division tournament, is in Alberta, Edmonton, and Red Deer, running December 26, 2026 through January 5, 2027.
And the division change. Denmark is out of the top group, relegated to Division 1 Group A. Norway is promoted and will be in the 2027 top division.
And group placements for next year will be based on this year's finishing order, with standard IIHF seeding rules and the usual host considerations. The official full schedule comes later, but the host cities and the promotion-relegation piece is locked.
Now, quick recap in one breath for anyone who just wants the headline version. Sweden wins gold, Czechia takes silver, Canada wins bronze over Finland, USA gets bounced by Finland in overtime in the quarters, Denmark gets relegated after losing to Germany, and next year we're in Edmonton and Red Deer with Norway joining the top division.
And for Sweden fans, this is the one you've been waiting for. You can't overstate what it means to win the tournament that your program is always supposed to win based on talent, development, and depth.
All right, last thing. If you're projecting forward, this tournament usually becomes a preview of who's about to pop at the pro level. Not guaranteed, but a strong hint. And the teams that play late, Sweden and Czechia, they just got a ton of big game reps.
And that's the whole point of World Juniors. Best on best, pressure, spotlight, and a bracket that punishes you fast. This year, Sweden handled the pressure, and Czechia proved they're not going anywhere.
That's the deep dive. Next episode, we can do biggest risers and fallers, and also what it means for the next World Juniors in Alberta, because that one is going to be loud.
Loud is an understatement. Edmonton and Red Deer crowds, that's going to be chaos in the best way.
All right, wrap it there. Sweden are champions. See you next time.